All right, clicked live, and we are live. It's fetching the stream. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to a Facebook Live with CHATTcon speaker Annie Escalante with BehaviorMe. I am helping host here. My name is RyanO. Here we are. What's up, Annie? How you doing?
Hi.
So
Hi,
real quick before we get started, this series is a part of our platinum sponsor, help bring these all together. Terra Nova Question Training Center is a big part of why we're able to do so many of these this year. So thank you so much. Annie is going to be talking about virtual reality at CHATTcon with her business partner, Andy, which we've done a live with already. This is in conjunction with our event, and we're going to jump in and just get to know her a little bit today and see what she's up to. So, Annie, you're up. How'd you get in the field? Like, what's your story? Tell us some of that.
Sure. So my story, when I was an undergrad, I actually scrolled around a lot when it would come to figuring out what major I wanted to major in. So at one point, I settled for biomedical engineering in my very first semester. Then I went off to biology, and I was there for quite some time. And it was when I was a bio major when I took a course in Intro to Psych. And my professor, who I think she was just a little lazy, on the first day of class, she had a video that she presented to the class where it basically summarized many different branches in psychology. And the one that I felt the most, affinity for was behavior analysis. It was the most akin to biology, and it was in that moment when I said, no, that's what I want to do. So I switched majors, and here I am.
Bam. You know, my first, I just got to pop up. My first experience was kind of similar, and like I took a Psych 101 class, and it was part of like a general requirement, and I was like, that class was really cool. Like I didn't know like what it was, but it was just stumbling into it after my initial choice was biology, and I was like, this is hard. Like this is really hard. And not that behavior is any easier. I learned because of behavior analysis and like learning how to study, like I learned that I wasn't quite equipped and ready with like the study skill sets and like the time management that I needed to be able to make it through. But I remember my chemistry class, and it was a biology like pre-med sort of track, but I remember my chemistry class was just whooping me. And I was like, that psychology stuff is pretty cool. Turns out it's really complex, but it's really fun. Cool. So study behavior analysis, BCBA. What's pretty cool and unique is you're in an area that's kind of, void of a lot of behavior analysts. You're forging new ground. Can you tell us a little bit about BehaviorMe?
Sure. So BehaviorMe, we're creating virtuality staffing solutions for autism treatment centers. So we have actually pivoted a few times, funny enough. If you attended CHATTcon last year, you might have heard our presentation where we were discussing creating simulations to teach individuals daily living skills, like how to cross a street or how to exit a building if it's, say, there's a fire or an emergency. And what's really interesting was we were actually selling the product to a few different clinics, and we would hear a lot of really interesting information from our user feedback sessions. A lot of folks would tell us, hey, that's really cool that you're creating daily living skills, but have you considered staff training? We would also have a lot of folks who might have to cancel either the feedback sessions or reschedule. And when we would probe and ask, like, hey, what happened? What's up? What's going on? A lot of folks would tell us, well, we've been having a lot of staffing issues, or we had to fire a few different therapists, or we had to bring on a few different therapists. And the training that kind of goes along with that, too, is pretty intensive. So we kept on hearing similar stories over and over and over again. We started to see a pattern, and we realized that the true blue pain points of ABA at the moment, at least when it comes to clinics, may not be teaching individuals daily living skills. It might actually be just staffing issues. So we decided to pursue this route with staffing issues, but more so through a virtual reality realm, because A, that's where our heart lies in, but also because we feel that virtual reality is going to explode within the next few months. And we want to be there in the forefront as a field in behavior analysis to explore what this will look like. And what's really neat also is that there are a lot of companies out there who are creating staffing solutions and staff trainings for enterprise level companies. So that's kind of neat.
Super cool. That pivot life, right? Like that's so much of a startup.
Yeah, it's funny. You come in with one idea, kind of like how you come into an undergrad program thinking, oh, I'm going to master in this, and then you end up changing and pivoting. I mean, that's life, right? So
yeah, so much so.
Yeah.
So I've got some, like, I guess, potentially selfish questions when it comes
Go
to
ahead.
what's it like. So last year, to set some context for people viewing, you all were based in the University of Florida area. They're in Gainesville. But you went to, I guess you also at that time had already been over to Boulder for like one of those accelerators.
Yes.
But what's it like in the big valley, Silicon Valley, and the startup mecca?
Yeah, great question. So it is truly the mecca for technology. It's funny, as you mentioned, where we are originally based out of Gainesville, Florida, and we love Gainesville, but it's hard to compete with this area. There's just so much out here, so much innovation, and what's really neat is how welcoming everyone has been when it comes to hearing different thoughts and different ideas when it comes to creating different simulations within VR. It's really cool to see a lot of folks from different walks of life come into this arena as well. Just a few weeks ago, I met someone who was previously a lawyer and is now it's really interesting how folks in this city, in this area, just want to pursue technology no matter what their background is in. So it's really cool.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Where are there any companies or like any opportunities you've had to kind of explore and like see some of this like big tech that's out there?
So what's really cool is because we're in an accelerator, we are exposed to a lot of different companies that are creating some pretty cool stuff. So there's, for example, there's a company here called YUR, and they're creating this really interesting app that can be inserted into any sort of VR game where you're able to collect data on your calorie output, and if you're looking to meet certain targets and certain goals, you can use this one particular app just to see if you're meeting those goals. And they're still pretty early on, but it's really neat to see it being applied to different VR games out there. So that's really neat. There's also another company in the accelerator called MindGlow, where they're creating virtual reality solutions for emergency protocols and emergency situations. So say like active shooter scenarios, which is pretty darn cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know I chatted a little bit with Andy about this. There's a big, real quick, the lawyer, we missed, there was a cutout there. What did the lawyer switch to?
Oh, I'm so sorry. If my internet's kind of like funky, I'm in a basement right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I met a lawyer a few weeks ago who is, during his daytime hours, he's a lawyer, and at night he creates, let's see if I get this right, he creates Beat Saber maps, which is basically, Beat Saber is this really cool game in VR. You can find it for the Oculus Quest, or you can find it for the Rift or the Vive. And your movements, you're basically in this really cool map where you're able to have two different lightsabers in your hands, and you're able to cut these really cool cubes that come at you, all in sync to music. And he's able to create these like musical maps that you're being exposed to. And as you're going, and it sounds really funky, but as you're going through these maps, you're being very active, and it's an exercise regime. So it's really cool. So that's what he does at night sometimes. He creates these really cool maps.
Joan said, like, Dance Dance Revolution of old.
Yes, exactly. It's very akin to that, but rather than just moving with your feet, you would move with your hands. You duck, you slide. It's fun. It's silly, but it's
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, nice. So, yeah, we'll find links. I assume there's some links at least on like Boost's website or something like that. Yeah. What was my thought? Oh, let's like walk out real quick, like the potentials of VR in case we have some folks that are kind of new to this. So, augmented reality and virtual reality differences, my understanding are that virtual reality, there's this environment that you're able to kind of like lock into and work with, but augmented reality, it's kind of like imparting that on your current environment. So your current environment is brought into that sort of system. So one thing that we've talked about with like an augmented reality, like really simple one, is the filters and things like that are on Snapchat that like allow you to like alter things, is augmenting. So that idea of your face filter, the one that's big right now that I think just came out, was one where you can switch your potential like gender, like your face shape, right now on Snapchat. And that's like an augmented reality example because it's like interacting with the current environment and like bringing that into the digital world. Whereas virtual reality is kind of like these planned simulations. I think one thing that's pretty cool is like you're totally having to craft all of these contingencies. So the limits of virtual reality are theoretically none, right? Like it's what can you put into the current technology, and the technology is escalating like rapidly.
Correct.
So,
and it's just a medium. So the different sort of like processes that you would be using for any sort of intervention or training, that can all be implemented within any sort of simulation. So VR is just a medium.
Yeah, and like my loose experience last year and a half of playing around with video is like the whole point of here is being able to scale certain things and like being able to replicate them very easily with the play of a button. And the same logic goes here, right? Something that's crafted to where you could train something if you can figure out the sequence of what you need to train and what the different variables are. Once that's put into there, like boom, you should be off to the races on something that can be implemented and like copied and repeated and scaled, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. So maybe, I guess, have you seen anything in like animal training with this, or like any animal simulations? Which, looking around?
I haven't seen any sort of, nothing on my radar when it comes to say VR, but nothing's out of the realm of possibility, right? I can totally foresee someone, if someone out there is interested, I can totally foresee someone creating a simulation using, say, TAC-Teach to learn how to train an animal in VR. And then those sort of skill sets can always be generalized into the in vivo setting. So yeah, totally.
Cool, dig. Yeah, I don't know of anybody out there that's currently doing this sort of stuff, especially the behavior analysis perspective. Seems like it's you guys are very much on the forefront. Yes.
But if other folks are doing VR and ABA, please contact us at info@behaviorme.co. I would love to speak to you. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
The potentials are like endless. Like
it's
anything
endless.
That we've thought of can be programmed. Like it's insane.
Right on.
Okay, so we said we'd talk a little bit about the hardware. So there's a big hardware announcement that like it's on sale this month. Is that right?
It is. It's what the folks at BehaviorMe we're all very much excited for. It's called the Oculus Quest. It was announced about 2 weeks ago, and it's going to be released on May 21st. What's really neat about this bit of hardware, it's a standalone headset. It's quite powerful, and it's going to kind of merge AR and VR. So there's going to be some AR components to the bit of hardware. So the head-mounted display or the headset, it has like 4 little cameras on the front of the headsets, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. And what it does is that it tracks the exterior that you're in. And what it does also for certain apps, it will be able to map out what is going on the exterior and then be able to replicate some variation of that within the interior of the VR simulation that you're in. Also, you're able to put like a boundary of sorts around you. And say if you walk outside of that boundary, you are now in VR. If you walk back in, you are in the real world. So you're able to actually see what's going on with the headsets on. You're able to see what's going on around you, which is pretty cool.
Okay, that's rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So virtual reality would be, this is just to reiterate, because we had a question. Virtual reality is this world is like planned, programmed, you hop into it essentially. The augmented
Right.
reality is it's bringing your current environment around you into that simulation. So that's where it starts to get blurry and really cool, because
Right.
things like your wall could all of a sudden be a part of like the simulation that you're in.
Exactly. So one really cool application that I saw was this occurred a few months ago at an Oculus event, where these folks were basically playing like a laser tag of sorts, and they had like tables and chairs, and they had all these different obstacles in the real world, but in the virtual reality headset, what they saw, rather than a table or a chair, they saw, I believe, like boats and like rocks and other formations, like, which is kind of cool, because again, the idea is the reality that you're currently in. So
Yeah.
your everyday reality becomes a part of what's happening within the virtual reality space, which
If
is
you like
amazing.
move that chair over, does it respond to that in real time? Like that
That's a great
rocking
question.
simulation?
I don't know, because I've been
Okay.
able to try the new headset, but I haven't been able to try an app that uses that sort of technology. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it does, but if it does, pretty cool.
Cool. So one thing that I saw was on this YouTube channel, Smarter Every Day, that they were working on, I don't know when this was posted, probably a year and a half ago, but there's two things, I guess, that they would just have to tag it. So like there was some little marker, I don't know what that is, like an RFID of some sort, or some tag, I don't know what those things are, but basically you tag it and then it realizes that it's in the system. So I think there's a pretty cool line between, or there's gonna be a pretty stark line between something that you have to like say, hey, this is an item to put into the system by tagging them with these little sensors, versus like when it starts to realize like what's around and what's going on and bringing that in on its own. Like that's gonna be really cool. But what they built was very awesome, like very cool. It was much like in Ready Player One, when you like strap into that system and like, you know, you run and there's like basically a treadmill that just like responds to wherever you're at. They built that. It was a series of treadmill. It was a treadmill basically that would be able to go any direction. And it was
very cool.
extremely loud and like, because I think like the mechanics behind it were insane. But what was cool is you could see somebody literally walking and like responding and being able to move like 3D in the environment through that sort of treadmill. So you might want to check it out. I'll link it for sure.
Please do. Smarter Every Day.
I was like, this is a reality. Yeah, Smarter Every Day. I'm sure if you type in treadmill virtual reality or something like that, like it would bring it up.
Very cool. Yeah, so it sounds as if that virtual reality headset probably had something called 6 degrees of freedom, where you're able to, you moving around with the headset on actually equates to you moving around within the simulation too, which is cool. And the Quest is going to have that too, so I'm so excited.
The question is will the Quest be at the conference at CHATTcon?
And of course it will be. So it releases on May 21st, and we're going to be showing all of you who are going to the conference what our simulations look like. And also, if you want to try out some of the other cool apps that the Quest has to offer, please do. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Nice, super cool. Yeah. So stoked. So I definitely want to like get a sneak peek at the conference.
Yeah.
That we'll be at. So tell us a little bit about what you are going to be talking about, you all, at the event.
Sure. So we're going to be discussing staff training using VR as a primary medium. So we wanted to really dive into the user feedback that we were receiving when we were creating daily living skills simulations, and we wanted to create sims to address staff training issues. A lot of staff training that's readily out there for clinics tend to be on more so like a PowerPoint kind of module or PowerPoint kind of format, and which is great when it comes to learning theory. But we wanted to present simulations that you're able to actually engage in the actual behavior set that you're going to be practicing in. We want to also see that sort of skill set be replicated into, be generalized into the real world as well. So that right now is our main focus, and we're pretty excited to showcase all that to all of you.
Awesome. I'm so excited. This realm is, I've also wanted to start creating a little bit in this like 360 world, because there's so, like, it sometimes gets me thinking, like, what are the why do we have limitation? Like, what are the limitations of like this adoption, right? Like, what's slowing the adoption rate of VR? And it seems like the technology gap is closing.
Yes.
Behavior wise, like it's I don't know, like I don't think it might create a little bit of motion sickness for some people, right? But like other than that, like are there any drawbacks?
So the motion sickness is typically, there's a few different reasons why motion sickness can happen.
Yeah.
And that's all due to immersion. Like, are you immersed within the simulation? And there's a few different reasons for that too. So frame per rate is one of those issues where if it's not synced up correctly, that can be an issue. Being able to see your hands when you're in a simulation, being able to see your feet. So it may not necessarily be your own hands, but avatar hands would be enough.
Okay.
So if I move my hand within the simulation, I should be able to see that replicated within. So there has to be some sort of syncing of that. Also,
do you remember when our biology's like, that's got to be such a weird feedback loop to be used to this your whole life, but then it's not there.
It's so bizarre.
You can see why that's happening.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Body's like, something's whack here.
Exactly. So what ends up happening is your body starts to react against that, like what's going on, and it can't process what's really happening. So that's where that immersion sickness happens, or that VR sickness happens.
Okay. So we had a question here from Joan too. Is there an assessment component to your app or the simulations that you're developing right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we wouldn't want to expose an individual to a series of simulations if they already have a skill set in place. So we would want ideally to have the individual be exposed to, say, some sort of assessment of sorts, see where those deficits are, and then have, and this is like end goal, end game, end goal kind of thinking, but the idea would be the person goes through the simulation, assessment, will be able to see what those deficits are, and then create some sort of a treatment protocol that would help teach that individual those specific component skills that they're missing.
Okay. Sweet. Super cool. I don't know if I have any other questions. Is there anything else, Joan? I'm looking over here on Facebook. She's got everything tagged, which is awesome. Nope. Cool. So, oh man, if anyone watches this, you all are going to be at the event. But we're also, some of us are catching up at ABI's conference. So do a little plug if you want to catch up early and like chat and get to know each other a little bit more, we'll be there. Real quick before we leave, again, this is just a shout out. Our platinum sponsor this year, Nova, is making all these things happen. Give them some love. Check them out if you're into the animal training world. If you don't know about them, the whole point of this is to bring everybody together. So Seattle, 19th through 21st, online and in person. So we are streaming this whole thing online, which is pretty rad. Last year was a huge success, thanks in part to you all. I'm so excited that you're back, Annie. Thank you.
Happy to be back.
Any closing words of wisdom? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh, yikes. Closing words of wisdom. Oh, I had a quote written down somewhere that I would love to have been able to say, but oh well. I guess what I can say is virtual reality is this new headset, the Oculus Quest, is going to be a game changer. So if you get a chance to try it, I highly recommend it. It's going to be a game changer. What it's going to do for virtual reality is going to be amazing. So I'm pretty excited, and I hope all of you are as well.
Okay, sweet. And I think that whole medium can like alter the way in which we do training and close that gap of how many people need help versus how many we can help with the number of folks that we have. So cool.
Scalability, definitely.
Yes. All right, thank you so much. You can stay on. I'm going to end the live officially so we can say bye to everybody. Make sure you hit the share, like button if you're into those sort of things. It helps us break the barriers of this horrible social media algorithm. Hopefully it doesn't pick up my words there, right? Facebook's like, we heard you saying good stuff about Oculus, but then we heard that.
Yeah, right.
No longer ranking your post. All right. Thanks for your time. Bye, everybody. Annie, you can stay on. Sweet. Done. Cool.